A woman named Michelle is seen peering out of her window in the first scene. She is arguing with someone on the phone. Then, Michelle gathers a bunch of her possessions and departs from her house. Michelle travels far out of the city and into the countryside and gets a call from her fiancé Ben. She answers, and he expresses his regret and urges her not to abandon him. Then she hangs up. When Michelle hears Ben's call again, she briefly takes her eyes off the road, which causes her car to be hit by a truck and roll into a ditch. Michelle awakens in a cramped room with a head wound and a needle in her arm attached to a saline drip. She discovers her leg is shackled to a pipe, much to her distress. She pulls her phone close to her and clutches her saline drip pole in order to call for assistance. Sadly, there isn't a signal. Someone enters the room from the basement and opens the door. It is Howard. He asserts that he saved Michelle from the automobile crash and is now saving her life. Before leaving the room, Howard offers Michelle a pair of wooden crutches to help her remain mobile with her leg injury sustained from the car crash and tells her to get good on those. One of the crutches tips is being carved by Michelle into a weapon that she will use to assault Howard. The next time Howard turns up, Michelle makes an unsuccessful attempt to stab him with the sharpened crutch, but Howard immediately takes her and puts her to sleep. Howard gently informs Michelle when she regains consciousness that there has been an attack on the surface and the air there is toxic, which is why he brought Michelle down to the bunker beneath his farm. Michelle is brought up to the airlock by Howard so she may see what is happening outside. Although nothing seems out of the ordinary, Michelle notices Howard's truck and recognizes it as the vehicle that struck her. Howard's truck has red paint on the side. A clattering sound can be heard coming from outside the bedroom. Off-screen, Howard can be heard yelling at someone. After leaving the room, Michelle encounters a younger man named Emmett. Howard informs Michelle that Emmett knocked down a shelf containing a week's supply of food while his arm is broken. Howard seems less approachable than Emmett. Emmett claims to have witnessed the attack, describing a red flash and racing to enter the bunker, which he says accounts for his broken arm. He states that he voluntarily assisted Howard in creating the bunker. Howard insists that Michelle and Emmett attend dinner with him as a family. Howard is irritated as Michelle strikes up a pleasant chat with Emmett that seems a little flirtatious. He issues a warning to the two of them about their actions. Michelle snatches his keys from him when he isn't looking. Everyone is diverted by an overhead rumble, which gives Michelle the opportunity to knock a beer bottle over Howard. She makes a beeline for the airlock as she runs outside. Howard urges Michelle not to go outside as she stands in the airlock separating the inside from the outside. A middle-aged woman approaches the approaching car and begs to be allowed inside, but her skin is obviously deformed due to an infection. Michelle is urged by Howard not to let this woman in. As she becomes frustrated, the woman begins slamming her head against a door's glass. Now, Michelle starts to pay attention to Howard out of worry that he might be correct about some sort of chemical weapons strike. He apologizes for his earlier actions and acknowledges hitting her car. Then he tells Michelle to treat the shattered bottle wound on his head. The three start getting along better with one another and working like a real family in the underground bunker over the course of the following few days. Howard allows Michelle to borrow clothes that belong to his lost daughter Megan. He shows Megan's photo to Michelle. Michelle and Emmett also become close, and Emmett talks about how he had the chance to play sports for a university but passed it up because he was terrified to leave town. Michelle recalls a moment when she witnessed a young girl being tortured by her father in a hardware store and felt horrible for doing nothing, especially in light of her own difficult upbringing. One day, the air filtration system broke down, and only Michelle is small enough to fit through the vents and go to the filtration room. As she attempts to restart the device, she finds a ladder leading outside, right next to a window. The word help is scratched out on the window, and the L and P have blood stains on them. Michelle discovers two bloodied earrings on the ground that she knows from the photo of Megan. She gives Emmett the photo, who informs her that the girl in the image is actually Brittany, a student at his high school who vanished a while back. The two are aware that Howard poses a threat and that they must leave the area. Howard's tools are stolen by Michelle and Emmett, who then begin to assemble a temporary biohazard suit and gas mask. When Howard finds the stolen tools, he prepares a tank of pyloric acid to destroy them. Howard asks to know the rationale behind their attempt to steal his pistol. Speaking up, Emmett claims he did it so Michelle would respect him as much as she respects Howard. Howard forgives Emmett and then shoots him in the head. As she completes the outfit, Michelle makes an attempt to flee. Howard manages to catch her, but she shoves the vat of acid bat in his direction, forcing him to stumble and land face first on it. She ascends and moves in the direction of the door. A fire is started when the acid eats through an electrical line. Michelle knocks a shelf over Howard after he follows her. To get to the filtration room, she scales the vents. Howard uses a knife to stab at the vents. As Michelle reaches the finish line, he tries to hold onto her, but she rams into him so forcefully that his hand rips off. The bunker begins to catch fire and spread. Michelle gets ready to go outside by putting on the suit and gas mask. On the surface, everything appears to be tranquil, and the sun is shining. She approaches Howard's truck after spotting it. She freaked out when she unintentionally rips her homemade hazmat suit, but she swiftly fixes it with the duct tape she packed. She removes the mask and takes a deep breath of the clean air as she hears and sees birds flying overhead. She observes her surroundings from atop Howard's truck and notices what she believes to be a helicopter in the distance. The bunker suddenly bursts, drawing the craft's attention. Michelle discovers that's actually a huge alien hovercraft as it gets closer. It throws something to the ground before turning around. Jumping into the truck, Michelle searches furiously for the keys but is unsuccessful. She then hurries over to the car after remembering it. When she tries to enter the vehicle, the alarm sounds and the lights begin to flash. Michelle returns to the wooden hut to take cover as the sounds and lights attract an alien creature from the ground. She looks out to see the strange being lifting the car. It then starts attacking the shed. Michelle looks for the car's keys on the dead woman. The alien begins to protrude its head through a flap door of the barn, just as she locates the keys. Michelle deactivates the alarm while pointing the key fob at the vehicle. The alien retreats from the barn. The alien monster then follows her as she climbs out the flap door on her own and begins to sprint toward the nearby farmhouse. She gets close to the front of the home when the enormous alien craft arrives behind it, prompting the ground creature to flee. As it approaches Michelle, the object gently rises and travels while spewing a hazardous green gas. Michelle sprints back to the truck and puts the mask on once more. The truck is picked up by the alien spacecraft as it approaches her and is brought closer to its mouth. Michelle grabs a magazine, lighter, and whiskey bottle she finds in the truck to make a Molotov cocktail. She ignites it and shoves it in the creature's mouth. The truck is dropped after it explodes and hits the ground hard. Michelle, still alive, runs back to the car. She enters with the keys, cranks it, and proceeds to travel down the road. She strikes the mailbox at 10 Cloverfield Lane, which belongs to Howard. "We have retaken the southern seaboard," the radio announces when Michelle turns it on. The narrator states that while Baton Rouge is a good option for those seeking safety from alien attacks, Houston is in need of anyone with military or medical experience. Michelle reaches the sign that instructs drivers to turn left for Houston or right for Baton Rouge, and she decides to turn left. A thunderclap reveals a larger alien hovercraft concealed in the clouds as she is driving there.